This is Joe Wong. Welcome to the Trap Set. I want to play something for you.
Love of mine, now is the time that I dedicate myself to your embrace. You're my one, my lovely one, my only love on earth under the sun. Love of mine.
You're hearing Love of Mine by my guest, Bardo Martinez. Martinez is a Los Angeles-based multi-instrumentalist. Although he's best known as the lead vocalist for the band Chicano Batman, Bardo recently began a solo career, backed by a new band called the Doves. I spoke to him last summer before a live performance at Ace Hotel, Palm Springs. And now my conversation with Bardo Martinez.
You're my only lover. All I want to do is be in your embrace.
My dad worked in a factory for the longest time, Amico. So they were, they made paper plates, styrofoam plates. And my mom worked with him when they both did graveyard shift and stuff like that when we were living in an apartment out there in La Mirada. It's like a super working class neighborhood, suburb. And yeah. Then my mom ended up doing educational stuff, working with kids later on. But yeah.
What kind of music was on in the house when you were a kid?
We listened to a lot of just everything, bro. Just from disco to funk to. My dad is such an eclectic head. He came to the States from Mexico when he was about 7. So I mean, he saw the Yellow Submarine in the theaters in '69. You know what I'm saying? So he's basically American, So he's born in '56. So he came of age in the 70s. So he was listening to funk and soul and all of that. And along with Spanish ballads, both English and Spanish. Funk, soul, and English and Spanish. So along with, rancheras. And it's really just eclectic, bro. I grew up listening to so much beautiful music. I'm really blessed to have my pops educate me.
Was there a time when you felt like you had developed your own taste independent of your parents?
Yeah, of course. I would always let's say if my dad had a particular mix CD, because he would buy CDs. You know how people would buy CDs from the catalog?
Yeah, BMG or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, Columbia House.
So you get the little stickers and then just put them on. So so I'd be oh, let's get this sticker and buy this CD or whatever. But also he would buy a lot of tape, a lot of mixes, say a mix from the 80s or a mix from we developed we were kind of partners in the sense that we would listen to we would always listen to music together, and he would be well, I like this, and I'd be well, I like this. And so I don't know, we've always had we diverted at a certain point with our tastes.
Yeah, where did you divert? What are some of the things that you started to become passionate about that your dad couldn't follow you down that path?
Damn, that's a good question. I don't know. He just has a certain taste, and I have my own. He'll be well, I don't like that song because, as I started playing music, getting older, being 17 and 18 and stuff, I'd be well, I like this, and he'd be well, I don't like it, or I'd be well, I like the way this sounds. I like the way, I like the song structure or something like that, or I like his vocal phrasing, and he'd be well, I don't like his phrasing, it doesn't catch my attention, or it's too repetitive.
Yeah. When did you start playing music yourself?
I started playing when I was 16, I believe, 17.
That's kind of late,
yeah.
Compared to lots of other musicians.
Right.
What inspired you to start playing, and what was your first instrument?
It was the guitar, so I just took a guitar class in high school, for a semester or something.
When do you feel like it really resonated with you in a sense that it felt like your vehicle into the world? Was there a light bulb moment where you thought, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this, I could do this?
I I guess I was always really passionate about it. Like I remember I wrote a song in high school, right? And it was just like I had like basic knowledge of stuff, and I just wrote a song, and I was like, man, I love writing songs. And
What was it called?
what's that?
What was it called?
It was something about Michael Jackson, like something about like something really silly, like not even like coherent. It was just I just wanted to be silly, like Michael Jackson always likes to play in the soccer field. It's something dumb. It was super dumb, but it was just like it was my first song where I was like I put melody to lyrics to chords, you know. Yeah.
And did you imagine yourself as a professional musician, or did that always feel like a hobby in high school?
I never really thought about that so much. I never thought about like, well, you know, I guess I thought about like I realized that in college, where I was like community college, I was like, well, I want to be like, you know, these cats. Like I guess I was looking up to different musicians on the east side, because in La Mirada there wasn't a lot of like, there's not a lot of culture, you know what I'm saying? There's not a lot of bands, or there's not a real music scene, and the east side has always had like a really strong music scene. So there's bands like Quinto Sol and you know, just all kinds of dope bands from East. Ozomatli came out of East LA, and I guess the early 2000s there was a very strong scene of folks who were playing music all the time, a lot of cultural events. And so, you know, in the incipient days of the internet, you know, I would go on the internet, try to find something relevant, something cool, something, you know, there wasn't, like I said, there was nothing in La Mirada, no hip hop. There was like Christian, like hard rock, bro. It was like that, you know. So I ended up going to the east side. My dad would take me to different events out there, and we would catch different acts from Terciopelados to like, you know, very Be Careful. So I guess in college, once I started college, got out of high school.
What did you study in college?
In college, well, community college, well, you know, you do your GE,
Yeah.
get out. But I got into UCLA, and at UCLA I studied just history. It really clicked in college, honestly. I'm tired. I don't even want to read these books. I just want to, I really got into Caetano Veloso around that time, and I just saw the potential of how music could be a vehicle for so much more than just music itself.
Right.
A vehicle for political expression, a vehicle for like deep philosophical thinking and all of that. And I think obviously the Tropicalia movement is a very heady kind of example of that.
So what was the impetus for creating Chicano Batman?
It was watching, being in a film class. Yeah, I took a film class at UCLA called Film and Social Change. And basically we watched a bunch of films from 60s and 70s films from Russia, Brazil, Mexico, the Philippines. This film called The Perfume Nightmare. It's a very amazing film by Kidlata Himek. He studied under Herzog, actually. So that's how I got really hip to, like, I mean, it just put me on to like deep films, you know. It's like that. I mean, it has nothing to do with Hollywood. In fact, they make fun of Hollywood, and they use Hollywood kind of like as a vehicle to express like dissent and to express, you know, philosophical, you know, perceptions, etc. So anyways, when I watched this particular film called The Perfume Nightmare, I think in the previews there was something that said like Superman, you know, and it kind of reminded me of like Mexican films too, like old Mexican films where they're, you know, obviously they're just doing their take on Hollywood, you know what I'm saying? But it's always different, and it's always so much more deep and meaningful and like gritty than Hollywood, you know? And so I guess that was kind of like, that was the inspiration for the name Chicano Batman. Like
you thought of the film. Were you thinking of it as a film concept?
It's just first? It's like just that heading, Superman. You know, it's just like it was just like this super weird, like iconoclastic kind of thing that means everything and nothing at the same time.
Right. And so then what was the MO of the band itself? Like, did you have a clear vision for what you wanted to do with that group?
It was, like I said, all these things were it was really just a pen name for myself, like in college, you know? The band didn't happen like until years later. It was
it was basically like kind of a place where you developed almost an alias so that you could be free to kind of create this artistic persona.
That's it. Like I just wrote a bunch of songs and just like put them on MySpace and stuff, and and that's how it started. And years later, I connected with the band. You know, Eduardo and Gabriel. We were a trio for a while. We recorded a demo, and we didn't have any. You know, we used a lot of my songs that I had written in the past. You know, on 4-tracks, etc. And we needed a band name, so I was like, well, how about Chicano Batman? And yeah.
What's your definition of artistic success?
Wow, that's a good thing. Good question. I mean, I think you have to have a strong following, you know, and I think you have to just differentiate yourself. I think you have to have good songs, and you have to have dope production. I mean, I think it's taken me a while to get to this point where I, you know, taking production so much into account, you know, but I think production is essential, at least in the music I'm listening to now, you know.
When did you feel successful for the first time as an artist? And if you didn't, that's okay. Lots of artists don't ever feel successful.
Right. Maybe the first time I got paid.
Okay, tell me that story. What happened?
Okay, first time I felt so. Okay, I got a pretty good thing to say. Okay, so before, you know, we were playing all over the place, small gigs, etc. And you know, it's hard to make it. You know, it's hard to succeed in the whole scene. You know, but and it was like my wife was pregnant at the time, gonna have a kid, and I was like, man, I gotta go back. I gotta like get a teaching credential or something because it's gonna be rough. And so
at that point, had you finished UCLA?
I had finished already. You know, I was subbing for the longest time.
Yeah, okay.
A substitute teacher for a while, and you know, that was kind of going nowhere. And I was doing all kinds of gigs, playing everywhere. You know, this is before we did some slight touring here and there, but nothing too extensive. You know, going to the Bay Area, going down to like the Southwest, etc. And playing a lot of gigs, and it's more of the same. It's like 2, 3, 4 years of that, and then it's just like, wow, gonna have a kid on the way. What do you do? You know. But then I went onto Facebook, and there was this homie some guy that I knew in the music scene, and he was like, well, you know, I have this music director. Film director is making a PBS film about the experience of Latinos in the Vietnam War. And they need somebody to score the film. And so we took the job, and she was totally down with us to do it. And that was like, damn, we're scoring a film right now, a documentary. It's called Sons and Heroes, I believe. It's on PBS. So yeah, we did that back in 2014. That was big for us. I really felt like, I mean, scoring a film, you know what I'm saying? That's just like a musician's dream to be able to do that, and it really, I think, pushed our creativity to the limits, you know. So yeah.
That's interesting because that's what I do for a living, is I score films and shows.
Cool.
And I think it can be a dream as long as you have the right collaborator. But I feel like the main difference between making my own music and scoring a film is when I'm scoring a film, it has to function, it has to serve somebody else's vision, basically. Right. I'm there to try to elevate somebody else's vision, whereas with my own music, you know, I have to be the arbiter of what's good and what stays. Right. So in some ways, scoring someone else's film is liberating because that creative burden is lifted and I can just have fun with it. But I wonder, for you, was it frustrating to be servicing someone else's film after kind of making your own music for a long time?
She was actually really cool with what we were putting together. The only thing frustrating was like how, like, the production of the music, like, oh, the guitar is too loud or it sounds too funky, you know.
Yeah.
Because we wanted to score it like if it was like a 70s like blaxploitation film or something like
Yeah.
that. Like you know, like just fuzzed out, you know what I'm saying? Heavy bass. But then, you know, it's like a dB limit that they put on the film, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, and they want to make sure that the dialogue is being understood
Right,
above
exactly.
everything else.
exactly.
So, how many kids do you have now?
Just one. Yeah.
And that was like 4 years ago?
Yeah, she's 4. She just turned 4 in June.
How did becoming a father change the way you focus on your art?
Well, it's made it a lot more serious, you know. It's just like, you know, everything I do is, you know, affects my family, you know. And every time I leave, you know, I'm leaving my wife with the burden of taking care of taking daughter to and from, etc. So yeah, I mean, thank you, Laura. She allows us. Yeah, she's right over there.
Hi.
She makes it all possible.
Do you feel more comfortable kind of demanding what you need as an artist now that you have a family to support? Like, do you feel comfortable asking for a certain amount of money when you're doing a gig? Or say if you were to score another film, would you feel comfortable advocating for yourself?
Well, we have a really good booking agent.
Yeah.
And we have really good management. So they always look out for us for sure. And it's always, you know, we're pretty blessed in that respect and just always trying to work as hard as we can.
I see you brought some notes. Was there something you wanted to discuss?
Well, okay, let me ask you this question. How many non-drummers have you interviewed?
A fair amount. Yeah,
Okay.
a fair amount. But
Cool.
if we want to talk about drummers,
Well, I
Pull it
wrote a
up.
list down, you know. I got Alphonse Mouzon,
so those
No,
are
I
just
got-
drummers that you like?
drummers
Okay.
that I really love.
Let me ask you
Yeah.
this then. Like, what to you defines a great drummer?
Somebody that stays in the pocket, you know, somebody that services the song, you know, somebody that's funky as hell. You know what I'm saying? It just depends on the context. Like, yeah.
Who do you have playing drums for you tonight?
I got Jerry Recinos. He's on the drums.
And what do you like about the way he plays?
He's all pocket. He's super pocket. He stays simple. Like he's perfect for recording, and he's just dedicated and knows the songs in and out. Yeah.
What do you think about most throughout the day?
Oh man.
Like, what do you think a lot? Like, do you worry? Like, what goes through your head?
Well, today, for example, we had this gig. You know, we're here to work. You know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, it's a lot about music. And right now I'm in the process of releasing my own music. So I spend a lot of time thinking about that. And also we're writing music for Chicano Batman, writing a new album. So it's kind of like something that's been on my mind lately is how to balance the two.
Yes.
You know, it's a very difficult kind of balance. And yeah, but
So Chicano Batman started as kind of an outlet for yourself, and then it evolved into a band.
Right.
So now you're putting out other solo works. So
Right.
how would you differentiate between a Chicano Batman song and a Bardo song? Like, how do you know the difference?
I mean, for me, at least, it's just I produce my own tracks. You know, I've been producing tracks for 2 years. You know, and it's always with Chicano Batman. You know, it's almost been my education. You know, rocking with Eduardo Arenas, who's a really brilliant, you know, producer in his own right, and Gabriel Villa, who's like really. I mean, you have to have him on this show because
Yeah.
he's a fucking amazing drummer. And did I drop the F-bomb? Sorry.
It's okay.
Excuse me.
We're all adults here.
Right? I hope so. Anyways, so that was my education, you know, being with Chicano Batman. And it's just like you learn all kinds of things. You learn what you love and you learn what you don't love, you know. And it's just like I could, you know, Chicano Batman is the 4 of us now. You know, we got Carlos Arevalo on guitar. He's been with us since 2011. And anyways, so it's just such a collaborative thing. Chicano Batman is collaborative, and my own stuff is for the most part me. Even though I'm working with other people, you know, whether they're playing drums or whether they're playing keys, It's essentially like my vision. I think one of my strong suits I think maybe just as a person in general is just like my imagination. Like vision. I've always like, I've been drawing since I was a little kid. Since I was like 3 years old, and I don't know. I have a strong imagination. So, and I have a vision for whether it's music, whether it's art, etc. So whether it's like a whole concept, like a band, So anyways, I'm able to carry out my vision as I perceive it without any hindrances from anybody. Yeah.
Do you worry about anything?
Yeah, I worry about a lot of things. I think just normal human worries that we all have, dying, one of them.
That's the number one.
That's the number one.
Let me ask you this. Were you raised in any particular spiritual tradition?
As an atheist.
See, I was raised as an atheist too.
Really?
And I feel like when you don't have that like religious background, then you think about dying at an earlier age. At least I did. I can remember thinking about it when I was like 5 and being really scared of becoming nothing.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I remember worrying like my parents wouldn't get home after like leaving. I mean, that's the one thing.
You'd always be worried about your parents. Yeah.
Yeah. Or, stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm also very blessed to have my parents, I mean, my mom is a very positive, beautiful, radiant spirit, that hailed from the coast of Colombia, so her sun-soaked beauty and spirit is always guiding us, and always with me. So she has this positivity that's like pretty insane. And, I grew up just like dancing at house parties and just like being loud and, hearing, my mom and my aunt just talking super loud in the morning, like at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., drinking coffee. And, it's like that's the most wonderful thing to wake up to on a Saturday morning. So there's like, I think things like that have really, I don't know, just kind of made me a person that wants to go to the park and climb trees and, and run around and go to the beach and stuff like that.
Well, have you ever had any near-death experiences? Like, you brought that up first. When I asked you what you worry about, you're like, you're afraid to die.
Oh, man, near-death experience. I mean, I fell from there was a... Okay, so there was
it's
this
not
trail.
like something... it's not like you had cancer.
I've never had a near-death experience. I can't say I have. I've never had something.
So it's just something that kind of... I think that's a normal human... That's part of what defines us as humans.
Yes, exactly. I've never had...
Like an opposable thumb and existential dread.
Knock on wood, yes.
But do you feel like you're able to harness that into your art, that fear? Like, do you use that as fuel?
I don't know. I'm not that afraid of it, honestly. It's not something that I think about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're not afraid of it?
I'm not afraid.
You're not afraid to die?
No, I'm not.
Okay, cool.
No.
Now that we got that over with.
I mean, it's not like I'm not afraid of it, but it's like I don't worry about it.
It's like on the back burner for right now.
Exactly.
Earlier you mentioned that you haven't you've come to appreciate the importance of production over the years. Right. How did you cultivate that appreciation? When can you like remember noticing it for the first time?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, working with Chicano Batman, we were Eduardo was like our main force of production, and he did an amazing and great job. But through that, it's just like, I guess I developed my own taste of, it could sound like this or it could sound like that. But until we worked with Leon Michaels, I think that was my real like introduction to like, this is analog production right here. This is a preamp. This is a compressor. This is a tape machine. This is like, all that stuff. And it's just like, I mean, I'm forever indebted to Leon for really opening that whole world up for us, I mean, I could hit up Leon about something, via text, and he'll never answer. Like, say if it's about like, let's do the show together, or hey man, let me get on your record, or something annoying like that, right? But if I ask him, hey man, what tape machine should I get, or what do you think about such and such compressor or whatever, and he'll be like, dude, just respond right away. So I guess like he's kind of like got me on game. In relation to that, all kinds of people, really, Eduardo as well, and we all kind of been growing together in that respect, and it's such a beautiful thing. that whole gear like
Yeah.
head thing. Yeah.
Are there particular albums that you listen to that kind of define your taste in production?
Let me see. Well, tranza is just like something that's Caetano Veloso's tranza. Let me see. I don't know. One song that's just been blowing my mind right now. It's Tame Impala's. I feel like I'm going backwards now.
Yeah.
That production is so sick. It's just unstoppable.
Well, that's a great combination of Kevin from Tame Impala recorded that at his house, and then Dave Fridman mixed it. Right. I don't know if you know Dave, but he did all the Flaming Lips records and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's so big. The sound is so big. The drums it's just like that right amount of compression where it's just like it just slams, where it just bumps. I'm a real fan of just like music that bumps, like hip hop.
Yeah.
Soul, just anything that obviously like a lot of early 60s stuff doesn't bump as much as like 1972. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you listen to like Stylistics, like a Stylistics record.
Mm-hmm.
That self-titled one where it has like the band on the grass. That record is just like production is just on fire. Just 70s production in general is just like from that to like let's say disco and stuff like that. It's just drums are so big, so huge, so bassy. It's just I love all that.
What else you got in your notes?
I have Keep in Time.
What does that mean?
Keep in Time was a documentary. Actually, some of my homies I think were in Brazil with the guy who produced it. I got Listen Recovery in the building. Renzo was there. But anyways, Keep in Time is a documentary where we had Joao Paraiba, who was the drummer for George Ben. He was also in Trio Mokoto. You have Earl Palmer and another drummer, I forget his name, but essentially the whole project was to take these drummers from the
James Gadsden?
Yeah, exactly.
That's my guy. Yeah.
Yeah, so they met up with and Azimuth as well. So they took the American drummers to Brazil, met up with the Brazilian drummers and along with DJs. So you have J-Rock, you have Babu from what's that collective, the Beat Junkies. So yeah, collective of DJs basically connected with also another DJ in Brazil. So it was just like this crazy project where they brought all these people and put them in one building, and so they just jammed out pretty much, and Madlib as well.
And so why did you want to bring that up? Like, how did it affect you personally?
Just the beats, man.
Yeah.
It's just all about the beat, all about the rhythm, all about like, if you're talking about production, it's just like drums as, just the beats, man. Just dropping it, So honestly, it's just really, I don't know. I learned so much from that documentary, like the making of Apache, for example. I think I liked the liner. Like, okay, so if you have the DVD, if you watch the DVD, like I wasn't too much into the film as I was more into like the outtakes of everything. Like you had all kinds of cats, like, I don't know. Like I said, you learn about just interviews of different artists and stuff like that, just including, Comanche. So anyways, it's just a very inspirational film, and some amazing drummers are showcased in it.
Have you performed in Brazil?
I guess I have. I was in a travel study program when I graduated from UCLA around 2007, and I decided to roll over there, and I just had a bunch of songs, and it was I think it was a party that our school kind of put together out in like the countryside in Bahia. And I just had an acoustic guitar, and I just played in front of people. That was it. Just played some songs.
Would you ever want to bring your band down there?
I would love to. I would love to play with Chicano Batman. I think we have a nice little following down there in Brazil. The people always holler at us from like, Rio or Sao Paulo.
So aside from playing Brazil, what are some of your goals moving forward? You said you're writing a new Chicano Batman album. Like, where do you want to be in another 3 years from now with your life and your music career?
I would like to buy a house. I would like to buy a house. So hopefully music could buy me and my family a house. So working on that. So with that, it's just, pushing forward with with everything and working hard, you know, writing songs and getting in the studio. And we're really our label is putting in really putting in some work and budget into like getting us a really dope producer, etc. So I'm really excited to rock with some heavy hitters on this one.
Who in this room is over 30 years old? Raise your hand. Now, keep your hand raised if you own a house. It's so hard to own a house now, but some of you pulled it off. I feel like it's very difficult to own a house. Well, you live in LA,
right?
And so do I. It's almost like a dream.
It's almost like a pipe dream. That's crazy.
It's not how it was designed to be. Well, maybe it was, but it's not how it should be.
LA is such a crazy place these days. We had this house in our neighborhood. We live like in a traditional like Mexican American neighborhood called El Sereno, and you will see like just house built in the 1920s, like super ramshackle with like maybe like 5 units all over the place. El Sereno's full of those type of houses where it has like 2 different units, and then all of a sudden you'll see like a complex that looks like an artist compound in Venice Beach. You know what I'm saying? So it's pretty nuts in LA now. House down the street sold for like $800,000. Like, anyway.
Well, if you can buy a house, it means that everything else is going pretty well. So I'm hoping.
We're working on it, man. You know what I'm saying? And I hope this, really plan to be on the road a lot next year. So like 7-8 months out of the year. So hopefully that makes it happen.
How do you navigate through being away from your child and your wife when you're on tour? Like, what's your strategy for staying in touch?
Just calling like 3 times a day. FaceTiming as much as possible. Yeah, sending texts. Text is actually a really nice way to stay connected with your partner. You know, sometimes if you don't text your partner so much, it's like you could have a little romantic thing going on via text.
There you go. Absence makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
Earlier you mentioned that you and your dad kind of bonded over music from as early as you can remember. What does he think about Chicano Batman?
I mean, he likes a few songs. He's such a hard critic, yo, my dad.
What does he say about this?
Honestly, art. When you asked me the question earlier, what's an artistic goal for me is for my like. I don't really pay too much attention to it, but if my dad could like one of my songs, like that would be great. Like,
has he liked any of your songs?
He likes one of Eduardo songs, like he likes the bass's song, like. But yeah, my dad's kind of harsh on me, but that's cool, you know. It fuels the fire. Yeah.
Do you think you're gonna get there?
I don't know, because I feel like it's a little bit of like just that father-son relationship, though. It's not necessarily like if it was maybe somebody. I don't know if somebody else writing the same song, like I don't know if he would, if there's that bias going on. That biased hate.
And you have a daughter?
Yeah.
If she wrote a song, would you be really harsh on it too?
No. She's so sweet. Everything she comes up
like,
with.
What about when
gold.
She's older?
Platinum records, yo.
Has she written any songs?
I mean, she comes up with some funny stuff, yo.
Yeah, little kids come up with some of the most creative songs that I've heard.
Yeah.
You got to use that.
I've used her stuff. For sure, most definitely.
There you go.
Material for days.
What about your mom? Does your mom like your music?
My mom's like, my mom is like, you've seen like Norbit or like, for example,
your mom is Eddie
like
Murphy.
Hercules. Yeah. That's my mom right there. She's the greatest supporter. Yeah, I don't know. My mom has always been by my side. She's definitely my guardian angel, for sure. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss before we open it up to these fine people in the audience?
So I'm good to take some questions.
Hey, who's got a question for Bardo? Yes, sir, in the back. Come on up here. You can take my mic.
He can't ask me nothing. He's in my band.
Come on, man. What's your name?
My name is Kyle. They call me Schmorga. My question is for Mr. Martinez. When did you first pick up a guitar? I've actually wondered that.
I was like 16, man. I mean, first picked up a guitar, I was probably like 6 or something, but I didn't learn how to play it. I looked at the strings like, what do you do with this thing? I was trying to figure out. I couldn't figure it out. But anyways.
When do you feel like you figured it out?
When I was like 16.
Yeah, like do you remember the moment where you're like, oh shit, I can do this? Or not
the
really?
Exact moment. I mean, I like it brings me back to various moments of like, okay, I came up with a cool guitar riff, or I don't know, just playing chords, I guess.
All right, who's got the next question? Sir, come on up.
So how did Chicano Batman and Miguel connect?
Well, we randomly got, I think, like an email from like our press agent. We saw the email and it just said, check this out, and it was just like a video of Miguel doing kind of like what we're doing, just talking to another guy about music, and he had a computer laptop, and he was just showing him different songs or different music that he's into, what he's vibing with, etc. And lo and behold, Chicano Batman came up, and he was really into one of our songs, Black Lipstick, and he was just talking about how he was feeling it and just how he liked it and stuff. So that's kind of what started the conversation between us. And I think it was just like some work with our management, and eventually, all right, we're gonna meet up with Miguel, and this day didn't happen. Next day didn't happen. The dates were getting shut down, but eventually we met up. We met up in West LA, and we recorded something with Mitu, which is Mitu is this like Spanish/English kind of like YouTube network that has like millions of followers now, and they pretty much financed it and got the team together, and we recorded a video of us backing Miguel on Skywalker. You guys know that song?
And you were a fan.
Honestly, I wasn't like, it wasn't something that I listened to or
Okay.
anything. But as like the project loomed, I listened to Skywalker. I was like, okay, I can mess with this. It's a great song, and we caught his show. He invited us to his show the day before we got together, and he smashed the observatory in Santa Ana, and the guy's all vibes, and we definitely connected musically and as people, and it was really just like a great fun process.
Yes.
What role does improvisation have in the songwriting process and your live performances? And would you prefer a drummer that mixes it up a little bit or sticks to the script?
Sure. In terms of improvisation, I think with us, when we started out, it was just always part of the plan. It was like the whole goal was to like have pop songs and then just have like weird things happening. Like just, okay, like, well, first of all, it was like I came with songs. When we first started, I think about like, the beginnings of the band, right? And so we would get together and just like, hey, let's just play this song. And they would just play it, and they would look bored though. I'd see Eduardo, the bassist, and Gabriel be like, I don't know, let's change it up. So they would be like, well, let's play this in 13/8. How about that? Let's say they would just pick the oddest time signatures. And for the longest time, for years, I was just watching. I don't know what the hell you guys are doing right now. I had no idea, because they would just be doing some crazy shit, musically. So like that's what I was saying earlier. It's just like they were just these guys were my musical education. Like I learned so much from them, and that was kind of like the backbone for a lot of the earlier stuff. Was like a lot of improvising within, like having the pop songs there, but then just totally switching it. And yeah, anyways. So for the next question was about like, would you rather have a drummer who improvises or sticks to the script, right? I think, I don't know. I think I'd rather have the guy that sticks to the script. But it depends what the script is, right? So it made me think of your question earlier. We were talking about drummers, right? And I think you asked me what makes the great drummer. What in your opinion? What makes it? Anyways, I thought about Alphonse Mouzon and the Parasite. like that is such a dope song, and it's just so complex, and they're just getting down on so many parts because that's the spirit, that's the script.
Yes.
So yeah, like I think you could do all kinds of improvisation, but if like the intention, if that's your intention, then do it. Then that's how it should be. Anyways, I think it's all about intention, pretty much.
How do you write lyrics? Do you think of a melody first or lyrics first usually?
Well, it just depends. If I have a guitar in my hand, I'll write the song together with whatever I'm composing melodically. But I've came up with a lot of songs in the past. I think maybe more so in the past where I would write a bunch of poetry. Because I've always kind of written a lot, especially since high school, just writing, letting it out and stuff. And I basically take from there and make songs. I think I got to start doing that more, actually. Writing more poetry and then making songs from the poetry. My lyrics are getting pretty cheesy. At least that's what my wife says.
Should we ask your wife if she has any questions or comments for you? She's shaking her head no. She already knows everything.
Cheer on, everybody. Cheer on. Come on.
Is there something I should ask him that I didn't already ask him?
We're just joking around. We're just creating a vibe.
Who else has a question? All right. Yes.
I wanted to ask you, what inspires your writing process? Like, do you write like every day, or does something happen that just?
It's just a feeling, man. Sometimes it's just like, like I'm sitting on the concrete, like I'm just laying by the pool or something like that, and all of a sudden I feel good, and then just like if there's like a dope kind of thought that crosses my mind, like something that inspires me, then I maybe I'll record it, maybe I'll write it down, maybe, in the past, I grew up going to the park. I live in Southern California. There's plenty of parks all over, like in my suburb, my sunny little suburb of La Mirada, and that's kind of my thing to do. And climbing in the tree has always been kind of my thing of like, I have a different perspective. Just climbing those 5-6 feet into a tree gives you another perspective, and it just triggers something in your brain, like of euphoria, just like, damn. Like it kind of sets you apart from everybody else and everything going on, and just kind of puts you in your own world. And that's kind of like the headspace I like to be in to write lyrics.
Yeah.
Hey, so we're going to do a quick changeover. Enough talk, more music. Hey, thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, you guys are dope. You guys are so dope. Thank you so much.
The Trap Set is produced by me, Joe Wong, along with Chris Karwowski, who also edits the program. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Trap Set, and visit our website, thetrapset.net, to subscribe to our show for free. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please donate to our show. If you can't afford to donate, please tell a friend and give us a good rating on iTunes. Send your feedback and guest requests to thetrapset@gmail.com.